The same thing about the other ones. This is nothing really brand new. We're just going to add an extra portion on top of this. The new type of stuff is going to be cutoffs in that case. So we're still going to be converting things like that, but we're going to have like situation-wise where for adult, child, and infant, what are the cutoffs for each individual case and things like that. And that's where it starts off here. So three couple definitions before we get to start into this chapter says, first one, parental medication are those that are injected into the body by various routes. They're packed in a variety of forms, and we'll talk about vials, ampoules, and syringes. We're not going to talk about that. That's the one chapter we skipped itself. You guys will actually get more in depth into syringes once you get into the nursing program. So there's no point in me, going through much of it here. But the main one we're talking about is ampoules and vials itself. Okay. So first definition is what an ampoule is. So it's a glass container that holds a single dosage of a medication, and that is the most important thing about this portion. So whenever you have a vial, it's one single dosage. So once you give it to the patient, you're done. You throw it away when it comes to it. And I do have pictures on these in the in the files, and actually in this chapter, I believe you guys are going to start reading from the book as well, and I have the pages already online for you guys as well. Okay, and I have a picture of an anvil and a vial itself. So it just gives a quick description of what it is. It has a narrow neck that is designed to snap open, and again, the picture is also in the portion as well. Okay, this thing decides the focus. Thank you. Right, next definition is called a vial. So a vial is a glass container. Let me see if I can autofocus. Yeah. Just wait. Okay. So a vial is a glass or plastic container that has a rubber emblem on the top. So again, you guys have probably seen this one. Let me see if I can pause it. Okay. All right. So when it comes to these three, we're going to talk about the liquids and then dry a little later as well. So when it comes to liquid medication, there are a couple guidelines we have to administer because of this. So there's something called subcut, and IM or intramuscular. Okay, so subcut is right above the muscle. Intramuscular is you put it right into the muscle itself. Okay, and these are the three conditions when it comes to each scenario. So if it says subcut, and you'll see those in the questions below. So subcut meaning it's going to be these criteria based on what we actually have. If it's IM or intramuscular, it's going to be these conditions we're going to be dealing with here. Okay, so you're going to have to know these, especially for the exams going forward as well. Okay, so if it's subcut, these are the cutoffs individually. If it's IM, these are the cutoffs or the guidelines themselves. Okay. So let's do example one so you can see how this would work out here. So example one says, an order of 50 micrograms subcut, so right, there we go, right, subcut per hours was made. The label says the strength of is 100 micrograms per milliliter. That's the strength. How many milliliters of this hormone should be administered? If the order was for adult, would the order be safe to administer? So let's just do the first one. So first one's not too bad, right? All we're doing is figure out how many milliliters we have. So here, so what are we given? The order itself. So 500 micrograms times the strength. So since we want milliliters, milliliters has to be on top. Cancel. So this is going to be 0.5 milliliters. Okay. So nothing really brand new at that point, right? So the question now says, if the order was for an adult, so now since we're in subcuts, right, we're going up here. Now order is adult, so now we're looking at here. Question now is, will the order be safe to administer? Well, our order was 0.5 milliliters, and it says adult is 0.5 to 1 milliliter, so we'd say yes, right, it is safe because it's within the ranges corresponding to it. Right? And that's it. That's going to be pretty much half of this entire chapter is going to be about. Okay? All right, so the next part of this portion is, let's say, example 2. Now, when it comes to example 2, notice it says word example 1 on chapter 9. So on the last couple of pages in this chapter, I have these labels attached to it. Okay, so this will mean by word example 1. So example 2 here correlates to this one right here. So I know it's kind of confusing, example 2 to 1, but I try to word it as, right, so word example 1 is number 1 and go from there. Okay, so that hopefully makes sense. So let's just read this and then just go to the label itself. Okay, so example 2 says, The prescriber ordered amphotericin sulfate IM, here we go, IM, right? That's intramuscular. Loading dose for an adult patient who weighs 120 pounds that has a severe infection. How many milliliters? So I know I just crossed out milligrams per milliliter, just how many milliliters, ml, would the prescriber order for the maximum dosage load if the strength of dosage is 25 milligrams per milliliter? Okay, so a lot of information happening here, right? Now our goal, so what we want is milliliters, okay? Now, the strength of the drug is 25 milligrams per milliliter. And now it says how many milliliters of the prescribed for maximum loading dosage. Now we're going to look at the label itself. Okay, so as adult, child, and neonate. So we want adult because that's what the question asks us, right? We want an adult patient. Where's the adult? There you go. Adult patient. Okay. So if we go over here, so the maximum dosage, so this is loading dosage, so it's 5 to 7.5. And since we want the maximum, right, it says the maximum loading dosage, our loading dosage is going to be 7.5 milligrams per kilogram. So that's what's also given to us. Okay. So maximum loading dosage is 7.5 milligrams per kilogram. Okay, so that's all given to us there, right? Now, this is what we want. Now, the only thing that is important is this weight, right? This patient weighs 120 pounds. So since like everything else, right, when it comes to us, weight is always going to be considered in kilograms. So we first have to convert this 120 pounds into kilograms. So this gives you about 54.55 kilograms. Okay. Okay, so now remember, we have two different things we're given to it, strength and the maximum dosage. So from here, let's see, what cancels out kilograms? Well, the maximum dosage, right? Kilograms can cancel out there, so we know that's 7.5 milligrams per kilogram. Okay, so kilograms cancel. And since I want milligrams, here comes our strength, right? So it's 25 milligrams on the bottom, 1 for every 1 milliliter, and there we go, right? We wanted milliliters, that was our goal. So now once we multiply this by that, and then divide by 25, we should get 16.36 milliliters. And there we go. Okay. So like I said, right, it's kind of the same process, right? It's a quick little review and a little more practice when it comes to labeling. The only extra stuff on top of this chapter is going to be about is it's going to go back to this stuff and, you know, understanding what IM is and all that fun stuff itself. Okay. All right, so let's keep going. Let's do example 3 in the back. So this one's going to go correspond to number 2. Okay. So order 120 milligrams IM, so intramuscular. Right. Draw peak and through levels after second dosage. Question is, calculate how many milliliters of this aminoglycoside you would administer. If this was for a child, would it be safe? Okay, so that's the second question though, right? Let's just do for the first question. So calculate how many milliliters we would administer. Okay, so let's go back to a portion. So here's our label for this question. So according to the label, our strength of our drug is 1.2 grams per 30 milliliters, correct? Okay. Now the order says it's 120 milligrams, right? Which means the first thing we have to do is convert one of them to a gram to go to cancel stuff out there. Okay. But interesting part is, I don't know if you guys can see at the very bottom of this, is do we actually have to use that? The answer is actually no, because if you see right underneath, let's see if I can zoom in a little bit, you guys should see that's equivalent to 40 milliliters per milliliter, 4 milligrams per milliliter. So in fact, they already did that conversion for us. So why don't we use that instead? Because in our question, we're given milligrams. So that made it much easier to cancel stuff out itself. So now we're going to be using that instead of the actual grams. So we know there's 120 milligrams for our order, right? That's given to us. times the strength of the drug, so 40 milligrams 1 milliliter. Cancel, cancel, and this becomes 3 milliliters. So that's how much you would administer. Okay, you would get the same answer if you did this the long way, did the grams as well, if you guys are wondering. Okay, now last question is this safe for a child itself? Okay, so there's two things we need for when it comes to safety, right? First thing is it is IM, so it's intramuscular, and it's child, so we go back over here. According to our intramuscular, here's our child. Anything less than 2 milliliters, it's safe. Anything less than, so therefore, since our answer is 3, it is not safe, right? Because it's not less than 2. So it's not safe. Okay. So that's not too bad, right, when it comes to it. All the other ones are pretty straightforward as well. So why don't you guys try number 4? I'm going to put this here. Here's the label for it as well. Just a quick pause. So 3, 2, 1, pause. Try it.